Hey, hey. Uh, Nothing. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be available and participating in another episode of the Mining Your Business podcast. Mm. Oh, Aaron Gerald's and CJ Jolliffe. Hey, before we get too far into doing the podcast, since we haven't officially started this season, I've got one more, if you're okay. I've got one more um, sidebar. Something's kind of came up, and it is, you know me. I get consumed and obsessive, and so I need to dump this because it's something that I've my wife and I. She's like, I was even almost afraid to start you on this because I knew how it was going to go. Anyway, boom. Yes. Yeah. And so I've been doing a deep dive. So as you know, we've been talking for the last couple of years, even before we moved out here, starting the it initially started out, and there's no, I'll just use the words, so that no offense meant, compound. We wanted to start a compound, and that idea was basically we bought a larger piece of property, maybe out in farmland or whatever, and then built multiple residences with a community type center for us all to participate and use and whatever. And then from that, we kind of sure. Uh, No. Okay. So no, it was supposed to be okay. So hence the transition from calling it compound to the idea of a family estate was the second iteration as I moved out here and we got to talking because we really just wanted family members, possibly really close friends, to be there, sharing expenses. Because to be honest, like if you're feeding four people or you're feeding 10, it's almost the same. Like it's only 15-20% more to feed 10 than it is to feed four. So our thought was if we pooled together, we started shopping not just at regular Costco, but like commercial Costco, like the big Costco, buying sides of meat and butchering it in the rec center or the community center where there would be like a commercial kitchen. So when we made stuff like enchiladas, you just make 4 or 5 pans of it all at once, the aluminum type pan. And then we could eat it there because there's big tables, or everybody could just take it home. And I think on the weekends, it makes sense to have big family dinners. And on the weekdays, it makes more sense to just come grab a pan, take it to your house, and heat it up there. But then we could have bulk storage, walk-in fridge, walk-in freezer, that kind of thing. So that was the idea. And I haven't been able to get any family on board, at least none that aren't, again, I'm not naming names, but selfish, lazy people. So ones that aren't going to necessarily pitch in to the overall idea of the thing. They're just going to be, well, I want my own place and I don't want to have to participate. And you're not going to make food I like anyway. And for like, well, then why would you be there? Why wouldn't you just be a neighbor? Like, go somewhere else. I need you to not only do that, work your regular job, whatever you're going to do, but then you also have to come home. Somebody's got to drag the driveway. Somebody, because it's probably going to be gravel because it's big. We're going to need people to help with the gardening and help with because we all have full time jobs anyway. It isn't like we can all just stay home and live on a commune. That's not the point. The point is to have a space where we get to grow some of our own food and some of our own, things and be a little more self-sufficient, not unplug and check out and, but do that. Well, we're to the next iteration since I haven't gotten anybody to join in the idea. We're now thinking a small farmstead where maybe we just go buy some weekend property where we can go out on the weekends,
Uh-huh.
have enough space to invite friends and family to come out and do those things and maybe grow a little something or do a little something. Then eventually have it be enough space that it could grow into the other part of the deal we were talking about before, which was the austerity side, which is one of the nonprofits that we've got going.
Right.
We're working with that offers therapy and help for especially couples. And so the hope was there that we could create a space, possibly far enough out of town where you feel like you're away, but close enough to town where it doesn't take half a day to get there,
Right.
hour and a half down. Our thought is we live now in Omaha, so somewhere in between Omaha and like Des Moines.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's out in the sticks, but at the same time, it's still a comfortable drive. Like you could get there in 45 minutes. because there, I think Des Moines is like an hour and a half, 2 hours
Okay.
away, something like that. And so it would make sense to be 45 minutes to an hour away. Go, you're far enough away, but if an emergency happens, you could come back, you know. So for couples, they could leave the kids with grandparents or whatever, head out there, reconnect, reignite the passion, the fire, come back and feel good.
Yeah.
So doing that a couple times a year, offering those kind of couples retreats, maybe using those suites that we would set up that are like miniature cabins, Airbnb those out the rest of the year, help cover the cost of the taxes on the property and the maintenance costs. I'm not looking to go out, get this place and be rich. I just
Right.
wanted to not make sure that I need to work a third job in order to try and cover that. And then,
right.
of course, there's the social media aspect where I would love to be able to document something that fun and that
Oh my gosh,
involved
right.
something that big and document that and post it and put it out for content. And then hopefully generate some following, some ad revenue. And then maybe even people that watch that and go, God, these people are awesome. I love listening to this. I would love to come out and do a couples retreat, or man, I wish they did a business retreat thing for us to come out as entrepreneurial couples or whatever. It could expand and grow into whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the idea. And so that's where we're looking. And we looked into, you know, maybe it's farmland. So obviously my wife has watched some other social media people and they're doing little farms and they got a little farm stand up in the front and they're helping to do it and make it. And she's like, I can kind of see that more than she was able to see it before. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. The spark's kind of reigniting. And so anyway, we went to go talk to the USDA. That's a lot more involved than they're making it sound like on social media, where they're like, oh my God, there's just all these programs and you just call them and they're just all about it. They
Right.
are all super nice people. Every single person I've talked to, and I've talked to 5 already, none in person, just all on the phone because
Okay.
we went to the office. It was only open from 8:30 to 3:30 Tuesday. Okay, well, we're there on a Thursday. And apparently it's a really small, I was at the wrong office. That services this tiny little place that's not. So the county, apparently there's service areas, they include separate counties. And I'm in a county, that office was 5.1 miles away. I assumed that was my office because I looked up USDA office near me. Whoop, that was the one. As it turns out, it's not. The office that services Sarpy County, which is where I live, is Syracuse. But if we're looking at anything within an hour and a half radius from us, there's like 9 different service area things.
Wow.
So we're really going to depend which direction, considering an hour and a half from us scoops up the top half of Missouri, a good portion of Nebraska, and a good chunk of Iowa.
Right.
So there's 3 states that it might possibly be in. So there's all sorts of stuff to consider.
Wow.
Also, apparently you can buy land and you can just farm it, and you can even find a little farmhouse on a little piece of land that looks like it had been farmed, but whether or not it has a farm number, no, that was the thing, but you have to have a farm number. And
Okay.
then they'll lend you stuff or help you do things, but it's contingent and dependent upon the type of land it is. So it's farmland.
Okay.
But apparently there is highly erodible, non-highly erodible farmland. Because if they're lending you the ability to grow in the dirt, but that dirt's likely to get washed away every time it rains,
Right.
there's some additional things you have to do in conservation efforts you have to make, and there's matching funds to help you create gullies and whatever you need or whatever. So it looks like we got all excited thinking that there's all this grant money. We're just going to go grab some of this grant money and go get this thing going. And as it turns out, most of the grant money is match funding and for existing farms, existing operations. And apparently they like to lend to farmers, put that in quotes, because they'll take additional things as farmish.
Okay.
For instance, if you have a degree in farming or ag or something, that counts.
Sure.
If you have 3 years experience being a farmer, great, that counts. Or 3 years of interning with a farmer or at a farm or so anyway, they want to know that you know what you're doing before they just hand you, loan you money and then go, are you sure you can pay it back? Because just talking to the people there, they're like, dude, we have people that are like 3rd generation farmer kids who've took over grandpa's farm and got the loan to take over grandpa's farm because their parents were forcing them into it. And then they do it for 2-3 years and they're like, we freaking hate this. I just want to go to the city, work a 9 to 5, and I don't like this. And so they're like, oh, now we've lent you this money. How are we supposed to sell this farm to someone else? You know, in the length of time you're wanting to sell, maybe next month. And they're like, this could take us a year to find the right person to come in and farm. So then if you're not farming it for that year, then they're losing their money. And so then they're having to force you to farm it, and I hope you don't just walk away. I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more to consider than I was thinking. So I'm like going back and forth to maybe we just buy the land ourselves, start the operation we want to start, and then check and see if there's assistance monies or whatever to do the specific improvements we're looking to do.
Yeah, I imagine you'd have to start small, right? You start small, and then if you get that experience underneath your belt, then maybe you can go to the USDA and get some
maybe
kind of
now we've
funding to
got 3
expand the
years of
operation. Yeah.
correct and doing it. And so really interesting too, because they won't lend. They said they'll only lend on stuff that produces the asset that you're going to sell to repay the loan. Meaning they won't build you a barn, but they'll sell you the tractor you park in the barn, because the tractor is used to do the stuff that gets some money. They won't build you a barn, but they'll build you a greenhouse, because that's the building you're growing the food in.
Right.
Or the product, whatever. So there's all these stipulations, and I'm like, well, is there size stipulations for the land? Because I don't want to go out and buy 1.98 acres, and you go, had to have at least 2 acres. And they were like, yes, there's tons of that. There's 2 acres, 3 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres, 40 acres, 50 acres, 500 acres. Like, there's a lot, depending on the program, depending on the grant, depending on each program is a different thing, and programs aren't lending. Lending is a different thing. So if you need a loan, and then there's like startup loans, there's operating loans, there's bridge loans, there's a lot to consider if you're trying to use specific monies with all these strings attached. You have to think about all the strings. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. My ultimate dream would be pay everything cash. So all I need is more money.
Preach.
Well, I just need more money.
First of all, I think that like doing something like that would be such a great, like an endless source of content for your YouTube channel. You know, especially now that you've gone this like vlogging direction. And I think that some of I have some YouTube channels that I subscribe to, and it is more of just kind of like, it's just personality driven. I mean, the content's great, but I'm really just being entertained by just them living their life, you know?
Yes.
And I think that there can be value in it also, or entertainment, but it's really driven by people that are getting to know you, or getting to know that person. But it seems like it would be a great
I'm thinking I want to somebody's probably already coined it, but I want to use if it hasn't been coined, I'll coin it.
Oh, don't use it. Because now you're putting it out there, and someone will.
I'm like, no, I think it's already out there. I'm sure, because it's very similar to something I've heard you say, and that's edutainment. So I want to educate and entertain.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, I have people that I subscribe to who have started like 5 channels. One where they're doing crafts, one where they're playing video games, one where they're cooking, one where they're just vlogging their days, and it's interesting because I'm like, dude, I think they're so funny. I like watching them do some of the crafts. I hate watching them play the video games. I enjoy watching them do the cooking, but only the stuff I'm interested in watching them do cooking on. So I only have specific things. Are they doing anything that has to do with fermentation? Is it sourdough? Is it fermenting? Is it, making something? Is it pickling? If it's just how to make the best spaghetti, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Or pasta, I don't care. Are you making the pasta, or are you just boiling noodles and cooking a sauce?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Now, if you're doing it from scratch, that might be interesting.
So it really kind of depends on what it is, but it's interesting because I could see doing, if we had a thing like that, there's the construction aspect, there's the farming aspect, there's the the selling of the produce,
Yeah.
whatever it is that we produce and sell, making that, doing the running the business of an Airbnb, or an Airbnb style type short-term rental. Let's call it
Right.
short-term rental, because I don't know necessarily that I want to use Airbnb. No offense to them, but I don't know if that works for the business model I have in my mind. And
Right.
then also the weekend retreat stuff. I think the retreat angle is a great idea. And I think I'd love
Yeah.
to be able to do 3 retreats a year. And I think it makes sense to do the couples retreat just because that's what I'm already doing with my therapy anyway.
Right.
So I think
Right.
there's an absolute need for that. But I think doing the entrepreneurial weekend for minding your business, I could see that being a huge benefit. And then so ultimately I need the little suites. I need the little en suites, the little cabins
Yeah.
for the couple. Then I also need like the rec center kind of a building, like the big building where we could meet up and do the meetings and the seminars and the group get-togethers and all of those things, which would be great too for Christmas parties and family gatherings and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense to me, and I wish I had more family members on board. I think I've got one or two of my wife's brothers who are
Okay.
interested with limited ability. One's still in California, and one uh, likes the idea, but is not quite in a position to make that transition or that move. And it's plus two,
Right.
we're way out in the sticks, and so it's like it's a huge commitment to just uproot and move out there. And maybe another brother.
Yeah.
There's 2 brothers that are sharing a house now, but they would end up having to ultimately sell that house and move out there. And if we were talking about a little weekend thing, they're not going to want to live in that tiny little podunky house. They're going to want to build something. And it's like, are they ready to start a construction loan, even if it was secured on a property that was already paid for or whatever? Like, I don't know. So plus the idea that we're considering starting is on a smaller scale. I don't know if it's my full-time forever place, because I'm not sure that that makes sense for me yet. I haven't determined my place where I really want to root down for the last chapter, kind of the last few chapters of my life.
Well, can I
Kind of
suggest
thing.
lovely the Ozark Mountains, the lovely Ozark
Yeah,
Mountains in Missouri?
love that. Here's the only issue is that right now my son is in a school that he's really enjoying. He's made friends that he really likes. We're kind of getting established here. I can
Yeah.
see stretching a little bit and then stretching farther later. Yes.
Sure.
So I also have to think about the resale value of the place that we're constructing and building.
Right.
I can't make it so niched that no one else will want to buy it. And then I go, okay, we're ready. We've been here for 5 years. Let's get this wrapped up and let's move. And it
Right.
take another 5 years to sell. I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Well, I
need to
think
be careful there. So my thought is
Yeah.
with those little cabins, if I made them small enough, bought those pre-made, kits,
Yeah.
they've got to be assemblable and disassemblable. So if I needed to, I tear them all down, pack them all up on a flatbed, take them to the next place.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be expensive, but if that was the thing keeping me from being able to sell that property, I'd pull them down.
Right.
So I don't
mean,
want to build stuff that I can't,
especially
that
if you're
would
doing
limit
some
my
kind of
ability
like
to sell.
community, or rec center, you could literally do really inexpensive cabins,
Uh-huh.
that are made out of shipping containers, and it's
Yeah,
just rinse
and
and
I've
repeat.
considered that, and then you just lift them up and haul them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really wouldn't be that bad. I could do a shipping container, because if I did, let's say, 20-foot shipping container, I could do it to where I took 2 and I put them, cut out this section of the half.
Yeah.
So it kind of did a zigzag thing. And they could have the bathroom back here, a sitting room, a thing. The sitting room could be in the center and the bedroom on the end. And you enter here into the sitting room, which is in the center. And you go back here to the bathroom and closet and then thing. That could work. This side, I could put like a patio and a patio, maybe put buy trusses and put them right over the top, have 2 patios, put a jacuzzi on one side and a front porch on the other.
Yeah.
Bang. Now I've got it. I could tear that down, take them with me. We could move them to the next space if we needed to.
Yeah.
It shouldn't cost that much. Yeah, it might cost us $8,000-$10,000 a piece to tear them down, take them, set them back up at wherever we're taking them.
Right.
Okay, still going to probably be cheaper than the 50,000 or 45 to initially get them going or whatever, or make new.
Have you seen? Have you heard of Boxable? So, I mean,
Those are
those
really
they've
cool.
got a waiting list that's years long, but
Right.
they are they are starting to deliver them. And I mean,
Right.
I think they start
Those are,
around 40, 45.
yeah.
You know, but it
Yeah.
includes everything. It's a studio, like,
Right.
it's like 400 square feet. It's got a kitchen, it's got a bathroom, it's got a
Sure.
laundry, all the things.
Yes. Right.
And you can
I do
finance
like
that.
that idea. And if I were to do the seed train
Hmm.
box, the shipping container,
Yep.
I could do it. I would have to do it.
Right.
I'd
Right.
have to take a year off and build all five of them.
And you might get a construction loan or something, but even then, that's kind of harder, I think, to get a construction loan on something like that. Where, like, if it is a
Honestly,
boxable type, those things are, you can get
so I've
financing
looked
on.
at it. It's actually way cheaper for me to go and buy one big metal building
Okay.
and then just subdivide it into five or six. Let's say take one metal building, subdivide it into six,
Yeah.
and then take and reverse the floor plans so that it's front door, back
Yeah.
patio, front door,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
patio, back and forth, possibly even a hallway down the center, and then subdivide it into three on each side. Like, depending on which building I got, I could have the apartment floor plan, not apartment, but more like an ensuite, and then
Yeah.
put those in. Now, the beauty of that is let's say the next person didn't like that. Go in and gut it and use it as a barn. Like,
Yeah.
it's a big giant building with no supports on the inside. It's all just internal build. Like, it wouldn't
Yeah.
matter. So then it would make sense. Then they could do it. Somebody else could do it.
Well, I don't know. Like, have you? Obviously, if you're, I have another thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the
Oh, I'm like,
Enneagram because I feel like I know your number. I don't know if you've ever done that, but we'll get to that. But even if
no,
you
but I
approached
would
it
like
like a
to talk about it.
timeshare, where there's 4 to 6 couples that go in on this thing, and it starts really small. And so I got a piece of fuzz on my finger. It starts really small, and then you kind of add to it. I mean, I
Right.
think the biggest challenge is just getting it started, right? But you don't have to
Yeah.
start with this grandiose thing, and you could
Right.
literally start with like the rec center and maybe just a rec center, and it's a timeshare, and everyone gets it one weekend a month kind of thing. And
Sure.
again, like, it's going to take some sweat equity and all that kind of stuff, but that's a start, you know.
Yeah.
I
What
would
we were
totally do
really
that kind of
hoping
stuff.
for to get started is to have a little tiny farmhouse that we could go and stay at
Mm-hmm.
and build one big empty metal building with a kitchenette and a bathroom,
Yep.
or two bathrooms, couple of bathrooms. And then that's the rec center.
Yeah.
It's also, if we have a storeroom, we put the tables and the chairs. Now it's an event center. We could rent it out for events and local events, Milestone, all of that, to other people while, we weren't doing anything.
Sorry, I'm laughing because you're like, this is it is classic Aaron. And what, like, this is actually what I love about you is that it's the same kind of thing I have where I was actually talking with my aunt yesterday, and she's one of the people that really really fed into my becoming an entrepreneur, whether or not I like that word,
Right.
and
I
I
understand.
basically, like, you just can't turn it off, right? You
No.
just, like, when you look at all types of things and you see the opportunity to make money here or there or whatever, and it's the same thing I've got, that I just can't turn it off. Like, I grew up in a family of custom home builders. It was my grandfather that started it in the 50s, and then my uncle and my dad, worked with him, and I really thought that I was
Right.
going to be, like, my generation was going to go into the family business too. And I was
Right.
told when I was a junior in high school, like, hey, the grandkids can't be a part of the family business. I was the oldest grandkid, so um, I was kind of caught off guard. And I was like, oh, and it's like,
Ooh.
go off and be doctors and lawyers. And I was I that's what I went to college for. Was I was a biology major. I was going to be a chiropractor, but
Okay.
I just, like, could not. To this day, I just can't turn it off. Um,
Right.
Even if I had a just normal 9 to 5 job as an employee, just clocking in, clocking out, I would have some kind of side hustle because I can't turn it off. And that's the challenge. Like, you know, that's why you and
Yeah.
I, we actually
Get
might be
along.
bad for each other. I don't know. We might be enabling each other. You know, did you
Oh,
ever
it
think
might
about
be
this? This
that.
might be a
Yeah,
codependent enabling situation.
it could
But
be.
we're
It
just
could be.
lost in our delusion. Um,
Yeah. Well, and two, I think we got to just keep going.
that's the thing. I
I think
mean,
if we keep going and we go long enough, something will get legs and then it'll
yeah.
go.
I mean, it takes
Because
work. I don't. One
I'm not
thing I will
opposed to it.
say is I don't see what the point of living is if you can't dream and
Right.
have a vision that you're working towards. It's just not
Right.
interesting. Um,
Right.
so let's talk Enneagram really quick because I'm
Let's, because I was going to ask you about that anyway, because the other day I got on here, I'm looking and I got onto Remind. For those of you who don't know, that is another one of the things we're working on.
it is one.
But Remind, I looked on there and I know we had talked, it was Chris, right?
Chris. Yep. Chris Ferguson.
Yeah. And so I know you sat down and recorded a whole thing and made
We
this
have a
thing
thing.
and it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be on there.
I
And
think that's
I
something we
don't,
can launch this in the next couple months and we can promote on the actual podcast. Maybe we can give people some
okay,
access
fantastic.
to some
Because I've
tools.
not actually done it. And I
Okay.
know he said, well, like, oh man, I'm going to put this thing out and you're going to do it, but you're not going to have the in-depth or the explanation or the whatever. You're going to need to reach out and do some more stuff. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Is if I've got access to the first step and then it sparks an interest, I'm going to go deeper for sure.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've got a lot of clients that are like, oh, I'm a IJDTB or whatever. And I'm like, good for you. That's
Yeah.
great that
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's Myers Briggs.
Oh,
I
well,
know
whatever
I
it
know
is,
all
but
my things. I know my Myers Briggs, my Enneagram, and my disc. Like,
oh, and they'll say
yeah.
like, oh, well, have you taken the Enneagram? I go, no, 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 but I understand what it is. So go ahead.
Right. Right.
Tell me about it. Tell me what it is, how you think it's affecting your ability to make decisions and move forward in life. And so it doesn't really matter what their score is, but it would be nice to have a little more insight into
Sure.
and have something to where when I'm talking to people and they're just like, I can't figure out why I keep doing what I'm doing. It'd be nice to be able to say, well, you know what? Here, take this and then we'll talk. Because
Yeah.
whether it's accurate or whether it isn't, it doesn't matter. It's going to spark topics for conversation.
Yeah. And I think, well, you would be able to back this up or shoot it down. How someone sees themselves, how they self-identify is kind of like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So if you sit there and you go, oh, I'm this way, I'm that way, you're probably going to be that way. Even if you're not, you know.
And you're going to answer the questions on the inventory that match with what you think you are, what you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, so how much like exposure? Do you know anything about the different numbers, or do you want me to just kind of give you a brief summary? Okay. So
yes, please.
It's basically there's 9 different personality types, and so it's numbers. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and okay. Each number is shaped by like a childhood wound. So there's not a good number and a bad number. They're all, depending on how you look at it, just kind of bad numbers. You know, like here's my childhood wound. You know, here's my tendency. I tend to do this.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple, just the ones that I mean, I don't know all of them by heart, but I know the ones that I'm kind of affiliated with because of who I am, who my wife is, you know.
Sure. I can tell you, I already love the entire preface that it's not your childhood experience.
It's actually it's your perceived childhood wound, right? So it's not that it's necessarily real. It's that's what you.
Okay.
That's what. So,
okay.
I am a number. I'm a 1, which depending on they have labels. Like it's the moral perfectionist. Some people just call it perfectionist. Okay. Sometimes it's called the not revolutionary. That's not right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, like if you like associate it with a character from like fiction or literature, I'm an Atticus Finch. So like To Kill a Mockingbird. I have a very strong moral compass. I believe that this is right, that is wrong, and I have a really, really, really strong. One of the things that shapes my personality is my strong inner critic. So I have a very loud voice in my head that's not necessarily nice, and it's not to other people. It's really more focused on me. You know.
Correct. Yeah, gotcha.
Not to say that I don't have good self-esteem and all that stuff. It's not that. It's more of like, you're supposed to do it this way. And so What's interesting about that, each number has a place that another number they go to in health or in stress. So in health, I
Okay.
go to a 7, which is like what is it called? It's like the free spirit. It's like a Peter Pan. I can't remember the name of it. Dang it.
Okay.
But the life of the party, you know, and
Okay.
so when I'm in health, when I'm in a good mindset, that's kind of where I go.
Yep.
If
Yep.
I'm in a bad mindset in stress, I go to a number 4, which is like the artist or like the loner. Like, oh, I'm
Okay.
just so different than everyone else in the world. Like, no one understands me and my situation.
So you,
Um,
yes.
when I start to have a pity party, that's where I go. And
Okay.
so it's really interesting because when I first tested, I tested as a 7, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because at times I view myself as the life of the party, whether or not I am, right? Um,
Uh-huh.
and but what I didn't know is so a 7 in stress goes to 1. So it's like they kind of, it's all circular, if that makes any sense,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
like a 4, Chris Ferguson is a 4, and in health, he goes to 1. He becomes a little more organized, but his default is like a very creative person. He sees the world in a different way, which is amazing. So his normal operating thing in that 4 is a lot better than my going in stress to 4, if that makes any sense.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't know when I took the Enneagram the first time if I was a 7 in stress going to 1, or if I was a 1 in health going to 7, because I was somewhere in between those. It was a very tumultuous time in my life. And
Okay.
Chris, after I tested, he just he didn't say anything for a while, and then finally after a couple of months, he's like, let me ask you something, CJ. If I wanted to do whatever this process was, what would I do? What would you tell me? And I was like, oh, well, you do this, this, this. And step by step, I broke it down. Like, here's how you should do. And he's like, okay, well, what about this? And I broke it down. And he's like, CJ, and he's just holding a mirror up to me, right? He's like, you have a way of doing everything. Does this sound like a 1 or a 7? And I'm like, I mean, you're right. I'm extremely anal retentive about
Uh-huh.
doing, how I have a way.
Pathologically detailed.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. But only about the things I really care about. So,
Yes.
which is that's very much that,
Moral
Enneagram
compass.
1. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it was really interesting. And once I saw that, I was like, this makes a lot more sense. So I was actually a 1, even through, that tumultuous time that was in health. And I was kind of, reflecting a 7. So, but I definitely, when fit starts hitting the shan, or if I'm in a
Mhm.
bad mood, man, I go to like, oh, no one understands me. Like, these are the things in my head.
You withdraw. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, I withdraw. Well, you've seen that with me too. Like
Yes.
man, and that's
You
why when you start
disappear.
talking about, I disappear. Yeah. When you start talking about like a homestead or a farming or like having this, like, I'm like, yeah, because I would love to just be off grid, but still online, you know?
Yes.
Um,
And the crazy thing is the way I see it is we'd get better because I see a lot of similarity in the way you described that. I don't think that's exactly if I took mine would be different numbers, but I
I
can
actually
tell
think I
you
know your number,
that
but I'm not going to tell you what it
that
is.
I do have the tendency to like to be the life of the I love
Yeah.
to be free spirit, just free wheelie, let's go. But I
Yeah.
also like to withdraw and be alone, which
Yeah.
makes me think if we had the place where we're out in the middle of nowhere doing nothing, where it's just plugged in online, just doing the videos, doing the things, just living life. And then it's like, man, I need to share and experience this with somebody. Great. The weekend's coming. I got friends coming out, family coming out, strangers
Right.
coming out to stay the weekend and do a thing with the deep pit and the barbecue and just
Oh,
hang out. And
yeah.
like, how awesome would that be? Where you're making like, carne asada, like tacos or barbacoa in the pit
Yeah.
and you're pulling it out and you're making stuff. I want to do that not just with my friends and family, but I want it big enough to where the 6 people that came, they're coming
Yeah.
because there's just something about getting to know other people and just feeling their energy and talking to them. And if they're already enjoying and they're like, heck yeah, we'll meet you we'll eat.
Yeah.
there's something nice about breaking bread with somebody and getting to know them and
That's
sitting
right.
around big family tables and,
Yeah.
where are you from? What's your story? Again, that kind of goes back to why you and I get along so well is we love people's stories
Yes.
because that's the threads that sew the fabric of our lives and
Right.
community. And so
Right.
it's like I want to share in all of those stories. And like how much more fun would it be if I told them, hey, by the way, you might be on camera sharing your story. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're gonna
Right.
go, yeah, that's why we're here, is because we saw other people doing it and it looks so amazing. Our story isn't that great. Be like, cool, well, tell me, you know what I mean? It's just about how you tell the story and how you draw it out of people. And I feel like we have that, if it's a skill or that the enjoyment of gleaning out the essence of the story and having them
Yes.
tell it in an emotional way, not
Right.
just, oh, where are you from? This place. It's about how you ask them where they're from.
Well, I think it's I think for both of us, it's easy because we're genuinely interested. And that
Yeah.
genuine interest, I think it just naturally causes people to share more because they feel valued, right? They feel like, oh, this
Yes.
someone's actually interested in me. There's this positive feedback loop that's happening because
Uh-huh.
you lean in, like
Yeah.
it's not
Because
the
I'm
it's
loving
not the arms
hearing it and they're
crossed like,
liking
oh, I
sharing
hear
it.
you.
Yeah.
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 Keep talking. No, it's
Uh-huh.
like, oh
Uh-huh.
my
Yeah.
God. So tell me more. What's that like? Yeah. What's that feel like? What's that experience? Because I don't know. And maybe it's just this part of I don't think it's I think I've had it for a very long time. And that's being able to kind of have vicarious experiences through people. Like they tell me what they've done, where they've gone with it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can imagine how much fun that is to go and do that thing. And then
Yeah.
it either convinces me to go do it or convinces me I'm not interested in it
Right.
because I don't know. But at this point, my imagination is so active and um, uh, actionable that when I imagine something, it's firing up the stuff in my brain almost as if I'm there. Like I see things. I could go right now
Yeah.
in my mind. I could walk through your only the rooms I went to, but through your house, like the house
Right.
that you live in, where the front entry door is, and then how it breaks off. It's got the little dining room with the coffee thing on the right,
Right.
left hand side. I could see the TV hanging on the wall. Like going out to the back patio, I have a 3D, like I picture the world and imagine it. Now I can go back and picture I can describe my house that I grew up in as a child, all of the places that we lived. I could walk you through the city. And when I walk it, I'm walking it in my mind, seeing everything, hearing the trees, hearing the cars go by on the street, like all of it. I experience it when I'm thinking it. So
Right.
this is why I love talking to people because when they share their experiences, I'm asking them all of the deeper question. What does it sound like? What was it? What did it smell like? What was else is there? What else did you see in
Right.
the distance? What does it look like? So they start to get to where as they're describing it, they're they're experiencing it themselves. And it's like that shared experience is just beautiful. So
Yeah.
if I could have that on an ongoing basis, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, whatever, then I have something to look forward to. Now it's all for a reason.
Right.
And the
Right.
fact that we could possibly even document those experiences for longevity, why not?
Oh, and like there's
So
something I really do think that as human beings, we're built to live in community, not to be this isolated thing. Like we've become more and more isolated, I think, over the last 100 years.
the more
Just
we gather, the more isolated we become because now you can go to
exactly
the grocery store, there's 300 people there, but you're by yourself. You're alone the
right.
entire time.
Yeah. How can you be so alone in a crowd, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I just love the fact of like, I mean, look, cooking can be fun. I love not necessarily cooking, but like grilling for my family.
Okay.
I enjoy it. But if it's for my family and other people and that kind of stuff, I enjoy it more because it's
Yes.
me sharing something that I am making or something I enjoy doing with other people.
Yeah.
If I were terrible at it, I probably wouldn't like it. Because then I'd
Yeah.
be like,
No,
choking on
we've
food.
got the Blackstone. It's a
Yeah,
griddle. I don't know how to
yeah,
grill, but we do have a grill now. I've got one of those black Webbers.
okay.
We've grilled on it a couple of times. I say we, my brother-in-law, because he knows how to do it. I've just given up on knowing how to do it. Like I can start a fire and I can
But
burn
you
it.
have your own thing, right? So like I
Yeah, but
cannot
I
cook,
super
but
enjoy
eggs
it,
and red meat are kind of like what I can do.
man. And I'll tell you what, I love cooking for other people. If I'm home by myself, I'm making a sandwich or cereal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If one other person's there, I'm like, let's make a meal. Let's do something fun. Like, let's make it. Let's start thawing some stuff. Let's start shopping. Let's go. Right. But it's like, I'm never going to do that by myself. No, thank you.
Right.
It's to be honest, and I know I've said this a bunch of times. People think I'm crazy. If I could just take a shot and not have to eat, I would.
Just take a
pill. If I could just sleep all night with an IV and then just wake up in the morning, unplug, and not have to eat the entire day, I wouldn't. Now, that is to say Monday through Thursday.
Right.
Friday night, I'm cooking for the family and for friends and for whatever. And Saturday and Sunday, I want to make fun meals. Like I enjoy it, but it's not about the eating. It's about the experience of making and sharing the meal with the people.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay, so the Enneagram, we're going to have to get that up and going.
Yeah, it's an easy thing.
I'm really interested.
I have all the content. That. It's just about a matter of trimming it and throwing it into like a digestible format.
Okay.
Yeah, not a big deal at all. Not a big deal at all. That being said,
I was like,
you're just gonna
you say that.
Hold my feet to the fire.
Yeah, you say that, and it's like, well, let's see. How long ago did you record it?
Don't throw me under the bus. Don't let people know how terrible I am.
Yeah.
No, you know what it comes down to is I'm really good with working meetings where, well, you know this, like whenever we go through and change stuff on, this website or that website, man, I love it. That's great. And then when I walk away, if I have homework to do,
it's not getting done. You're labeling it homework. So of course
it's homework. Yeah. Cause I'm home and I'm working.
Yes. So you call it that, forget about it. Yeah, that's funny. I know I've mentioned before, working with, in my new office, my therapy office, I work with a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
And we had been talking forever about creating a course on, and when I say talking forever about creating a course, I have been asking him to teach me hypnosis and how to do it. Yeah. And he's taught me several lessons, and I've gotten to where I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I'm not terrible. Okay. And I think a lot of what I do is waking hypnosis anyway. And that is tapping into that relaxed side of people's consciousness, not necessarily speaking with their unconscious, but giving them suggestions and talking. Otherwise I wouldn't be a decent therapist. Right. And so I kind of use some of those things naturally, but I like to be intentional about it. I'd like to learn to be intentional about it and use it on purpose.
Right.
Know what's happening. So in an effort to get him, when I've asked him, like, remember when we talked and you said this, and he's like, no, I said this, that. And I'm like, that makes more sense now. And it's just because I heard him wrong or whatever, but I didn't have anything to go back to and re-listen to or re-watch or whatever. And so it was mostly, I don't know if I lost you or not, but I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
So it was mostly about me being able to look at a course or a curriculum that would be more structured so that I could learn it in a better, easier, more digestible way. Just because as a teacher or an instructor, I like to have it, or to learn things or teach things in a way that is easier to do and remember and recall.
Yeah.
So we sat down and recorded the first, 5-6 videos of ultimately what's going to be about 50 videos to get through the course. And dude, I don't mind the work. So I sat down with him, we recorded.
Okay.
And then I said, I'll go ahead and I'll trim those up and I'll get those posted and we'll put them and we'll start putting them on a website or whatever. And I know we'd kind of talked about doing it on the Remind website and posting it there. Well, I don't know how to do that well enough to make it worthwhile. So it's probably something we should do on one of these working lunches, is pop it in, create it, start posting and putting it in there so that at least it's getting going. And trying to lock him down for long enough to record has just been an exercise in frustration. So this is probably one of those things that, yes, it has been started. Yes, we have a 48-week online course curriculum for doing hypnosis, but it's going to probably take, if the past is any indication of the future, it's going to take a year to finish the year-long course.
Well, I mean, it's all about what is it? Forward progress, forward momentum, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. You're frozen and blurry,
I'm
but
frozen and blurry. I see me.
yeah, but on Twitch, you're perfect. On Zoom,
Oh,
you're
hang on.
you're messed up.
Hang on. I'll fix me on Zoom.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I can
Here.
watch it just 3 seconds behind. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
no. Sorry.
I can watch it, but a few seconds behind on other one.
I had to switch cameras.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably why you switched cameras on the OBS and then it wasn't on the Zoom, and I'm like,
right. This is what happens when
I'm going to keep talking.
When I'm outside, not at home.
Mobile. It's beautiful there. My gosh.
Right? Isn't it awesome?
Like you can see for miles. Honestly,
you really can.
I always thought I need to be in the mountains. And then I thought, well, I don't need to be in the mountains. I need to be in the trees. And then
this is both.
I don't need to be in the mountains or the trees. I need view. I need horizon.
Yeah.
I need tree. I need it to look beautiful when you look outside. You look outside, not only can you see a lake, that's ridiculous. Water would be just, I think, too much to ask for, to be honest. At least on the first go round. Eventually, I'd like to do it. I think there's, what is it, Land of 1,000 Lakes or something? There's Minnesota, a place. Right? Yeah. So there are places where that is an availability potentially in the future.
Well,
whether or not it makes sense for now, I don't know. But I think for now, I just need to kind of bite off what I can bite off. But I think take the step, because I think any step in the direction I want to go, ultimately where I want to go, I believe is 5 steps ahead. Because realistically, if I were to say, no, I want to build a rec center, it only needs to be, 1,800 square feet. As it turns out, it needs to be 25. Oh, right. Okay. Well, it's too late now to add. So it just is what it is. But the next time we do this, I'll make sure to do . And it's like everyone I've ever talked to that's built a custom home. The first one is the one they always call their first one. And then the second one is what they call their dream home, because they built the first one that they thought was their dream home. And they go, we really did need a mudroom, and we needed the kitchen to be bigger, and the pantry needed to be 6 foot by 8 foot, not 6 foot by 4 foot. And. Right. So whatever those things are that they change. And it's like, in fact, one of the people I used to work with, he built a custom home, gorgeous custom home. And he's like, this was an amazing first build. He's like, my next one's going to be half this size, because we just overbuilt like crazy. So it's not always about, we need more every time. Sometimes it's like, what a waste. We didn't even need that room. I'm not even going to put that in the next place.
Exactly.
And so it's about figuring out what I actually want and need, and then making those things work. Yeah. And so I figure I'm going to do it smart, and I'm not going to say, dude, this is, because I've always said, like, everywhere I move, like, well, this isn't my forever house.
Right.
Okay. Well, the next thing that I build, which is the estate or the farmstead or the whatever iteration I've come to next now, that's still not the forever home. I still need to consider resaleability and try to build it out the way I want it, but do it in a way that isn't ridiculous, where it's like, no one's going to want a pond in their entryway or whatever. I don't want that either, but I'm just saying, to where it makes sense,
right.
Don't go sell the $80,000 greenhouse that is unusable because it doesn't make sense for the climate or so. That's what I need to consider this go around. But I want to get started, because I don't know what I don't know, and I won't know it until it's too late.
Yeah. Well, we're in a similar position where it's like, I mean, we rent right now, and we actually are not really willing to buy something until it is, at least has the potential to be our forever home. So like we want a little bit of land, and so like
Right.
this is beautiful. Like this is my
Mhm.
aunt's place, um,
Right.
on Table Rock Lake, and she's got like 23 acres, but you're not growing anything here. Like
Right.
of the 23 acres, there's probably
It's a hill. I saw it. It's a steep hill
yeah,
too. You
yeah,
can see the
yeah,
lake is really low from there. And I think we
yeah,
drove by it.
yeah.
So
So, but
when I
like
came to
what
do the
we want
B-roll.
is a little more seclusion. I
Uh,
mean, honestly, we could do something as small as 3 acres, as long as there's trees.
yep.
Um, this is really dumb, but I call it the like the pee test. Can I stand on my back patio and pee off my back patio, like without my neighbors,
Without someone,
without
without
getting the
anybody
police
being able to
called on me?
see.
You know, um, and I know
Yes.
that's dumb, but
No, it's about the same as because I'm like, can I sit out on the back patio, drink a cup of coffee in my underwear without
yeah,
being
exactly.
the police called on me?
Yeah, I just want
So
a
if
little
nobody's
seclusion.
out there, I want to be able to do that. And
I
not
don't
that I
need.
ever, and I don't even plan to, I'm not an underwear outside
I'm not
person.
either, right? But no, it's just more about having
I
being
just want to be
in
able to.
nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
like honestly, being out here. um, I was out here yesterday, and I just for a couple minutes I just stood and I just felt the wind and I looked across the lake, and it's just like it restores my soul, man. Like there's just
Uh-huh.
something about it. Like I love nature.
Yes.
Um, do I
Yes.
want to live in the middle of nowhere and have cows and stuff? Not really. Do I want to be
Right.
able to go somewhere on a regular basis and just refresh, rejuvenate? Yep.
Right.
So,
Right.
like, I think my plan would be to design a house in a way that's buildable in stages. I want to say modular, but that makes it sound like a modular home. That's not what I'm
Uh-huh.
talking about. But design
Right.
it ahead of time. Like here's what we're building first, and then we can
Uh-huh.
add on this piece, we can add on this piece, and it ends up, even if
Yes.
it's not all connected, it could be
Yep.
connected through a courtyard or something, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. 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 I got you.
but I
Yeah.
think that's kind of
We're watching a YouTube channel, people that built their garage first. They're doing it themselves and they put in the subfloor heating and the thing, and it's like two car garages.
yeah.
And then above it, they're building an apartment.
Hmm.
It'll ultimately be their apartment they're going to live in, but they made the apartment in such a way that it's really much more like it's a little crazy office space, because
Yeah.
that's where they're going to run their virtual businesses from. And then eventually next to it, they're going to build their house, and then they're going
Right.
to. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want, because now they're building it with the garage, and they're going to be able to live in it, and then sell their house, and then get that money from their house that they have, and then start doing it. So ultimately, when they're done, they'll have their house, their business, their garages, their property,
Yeah.
and no mortgage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, yes,
Exactly.
that's what I want. But the
Yeah.
thing is too, like, while I would love to have a little office space above the garage and just run a virtual business, and it's not enough connection with people. I need more than that, which is
Yeah.
why I think I need the weekend things and the stuff. I got to bring more people where I'm at, or I got to go where they're at.
Right.
So
I do
I
love
need a
that
little
idea
more
though.
life.
Like even obviously there's like friends and family and stuff, but I love the idea of like um, I love the idea of having like retreats and that kind of stuff. Um, but I mean, I could see that being really, really effective. Like, hey, I apologize, my phone's blowing up. Let's go ahead and
Yeah,
wrap
you've
this
got
up.
that family thing,
Yeah, yeah, I've got some
so
family issues
you're going to
happening.
need to
So,
answer that.
but
Yeah, let's wrap
yeah.
it.
So
Cool.
we're getting close to launching this thing. I know this is like not officially the podcast yet, but there are a couple
We're
things
getting
that
more
we
used to doing it on a consistent basis and using the live thing and making sure working out the bugs.
and
So
working out the
hopefully the sound is
kinks.
good. Hopefully, it's all working. So
There's definitely some
cool.
issues this week, but it's because I'm mobile, right? Um, when I'm back at my desk, everything will be, I think, ironed out. So, but yeah,
Cool.
sorry I have to go a little early today, but
Okay.
be figuring out what you're going to do about that farmstead and keep me posted. Like I love that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
And you know,
For sure.
uh,
I'm going to need to talk to you about that more, about creating the channels and the opportunity to possibly do some more documentation and
Yeah.
social media side of that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind picking your brain on that. So take care of what you need to. Looking forward to it. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, man.
So
have a good one.
Then we should probably sign off. Pretend to sign off. You know what I mean?
This
Get used to it.
Minding your business something, and it's not really the podcast; it's the live stream, and I don't know. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
If you would like to know more, we have a Facebook group, and it is Minding Your Business on Facebook, right? You can also go to mybpodcast.com, and that has the links to all the things that we're doing. We have some more stuff coming down the pike here in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
We are going to hit the ground rolling pretty hard at the beginning of the year. So keep us.
Yeah. Oh man, we got a ton of plans for after the first of the year because there's so many legs to the table that it's more of a spider. So cool.
Well, have a good one. I will talk to you next week.
You too.
All right.
Sounds good. Talk to you then. All right. Bye.